Hey guys, it's Kim and I have a meal prepping video for you today. So for the last 7 weeks, I've been using this cookbook here. It's called Cook Once, Eat All Week, and they're gluten-free recipes, and it's really been kind of game-changing for me for meal planning. So we're currently on week 7, and the main ingredients are turkey breasts, tomatoes, and potatoes, and you can see here are all of the ingredients. The ingredients are things that I normally cook with. A lot of times when I get cookbooks, they're like obscure ingredients, or I spend so much time using a bunch of different ingredients and only making like a tiny little sauce or something with it. This is just like new recipes to me, but with ingredients that I already cook with. Here's what the layout looks like for the prep instructions. So I do my prepping on Sunday, so that we have meals for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the week. This week we're doing roasting turkey breasts, roasting potatoes, roasting tomatoes, so a lot of roasting. The oven's gonna be on for a little while. Cooking up some bacon, and then dicing up onion, garlic, and bell pepper. So that is what we will be doing this week, and here are the meals. So we're gonna be making tomato soup out of those tomatoes, assumingly here. And then grilled cheese sandwiches using the sliced turkey. This is buffalo turkey casserole. This looks really good. And then turkey pizza sheet pan dinner. So this looks interesting. So that has turkey chunks and then a bunch of different vegetables, and then pepperonis as well, and olives. So you can see it's still some cooking the day of. It's not like just throw it in. You have to, the things that have checks on it are the things that you've already prepared, and then the things that don't have checks are things that, additional ingredients, but they're all like really easy. So here you can see about 10 minutes to prepare and then 30 minutes to cook. So you do still have to plan ahead. It's not gonna just be done in a couple of minutes. Cook time on this is 20 minutes, prep time 8. So they're easy to just throw together and then throw in the oven. So this prep time only 5 minutes, cook time 15. So before this cookbook, I was spending about an hour to an hour and a half every night in the kitchen. And now it's down to like 30 to 40 minutes, which is wonderful. And then here are the bonus dinners. So like just seared pork chops with a veggie, and fish with squash, just giving you ideas at least to complete the whole week if you need that. Previous weeks to just show you. Some of them have more involved lists when there's like sauces and things to make. It can take longer, but for the most part, I've taken about an hour, 2 hours max on meal prep day. And if I organize it better, you know, like doing 2 things at once, then it can be done a lot quicker. After we've eaten the meal, my family all decides if it's a green, yellow, or red. Green meaning we really liked it and we would repeat the meal. And then yellow, so here's another green. This was a good week. And then red means we didn't like it at all and wouldn't want to repeat it. So this is cottage pie. It just wasn't the taste that my family liked, and a little bit mushy. And there's been a lot of recipes that I'm actually really surprised that we liked a lot. So yellow means that it was okay. We wouldn't like jump to make it again, but it was fine. We would eat it. So that is what the layout of this cookbook is like. It's really been wonderful for my family. So let's jump into the meal planning. I'm gonna just do a voiceover for you guys, have some music playing, and hopefully you can get some motivation to do some meal prep or some cooking and cleaning around your house while you watch this. First, we're going to start out by cooking up some bacon in a fry pan. And then I have the turkey tenderloins. I'm taking them out of the packaging. I gave them a good rinse and pat them dry with a towel. And then just put a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper on them, and they should be good to go in the oven. Put it at 375 degrees for 45 minutes. I just put them in the oven and got busy with other meal prepping while that was in the oven. Once the bacon was cooled, I crumbled it and put it in a container to use later in the week. The next step is to cut up the green pepper as well as the onion. So I cut the pepper into thin slices and diced up half of the onion, put those away for later in the week. Now I'm gonna get the tomatoes ready. I have about 2 pints of tomatoes in a bowl, and I'm drizzling 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt on the tomatoes, and I'm gonna mix that up so the tomatoes are coated in the olive oil and salt, just to get them ready for roasting. Next, I'm gonna pour the tomatoes on top of a baking sheet that has parchment paper on it so they don't get stuck to the baking sheet. And at this point, the turkey is done, which is perfect timing because I'm gonna increase the temperature to 400 degrees for the roasting of the tomatoes and soon to be the potatoes as well. But I'm going to throw those tomatoes in the oven at 400 degrees, and we'll start with 30 minutes. We're gonna get the potatoes ready. I have washed them, and at this point I'm also letting the turkey cool off before we cut it, but I am going to cut them, it says, into 1-inch chunks. I'm not really worried about the size of them, but just cutting them up into medium-ish chunks. And I'm putting 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt on the potatoes and mixing that up really well to coat all of the potatoes. And I will put them on a baking sheet, again lined with parchment paper so they don't get stuck to the bottom of the pan. So the recipe says to put the tomatoes on the lower rack and the potatoes in the middle rack, so I'm just switching that over right now. So at this point, it's been about 30 minutes. I'm gonna take out the tomatoes and then flip the potatoes and put them back in for another 30 minutes. So the tomatoes are done. They are all wrinkly. So I'm gonna scoop them and put them into a container to use later in the week. So the turkey is cool enough to cut now. I'm gonna cut 2 of the pieces into thin slices for the sandwiches and the rest into 1-inch cubes. It says to put 4 cups into one container and 2 cups into another, and put those away for later in the week. So here is everything completed. We have the turkey, the potatoes, the tomatoes, the bacon, onions, and bell peppers. I did not mince up the garlic because I like to do that the day of, just so it's nice and fresh, and that takes no time. So this is everything. Today it took about 1 hour and 45 minutes just because it took 45 minutes to cook the meat and then 1 hour to roast the potatoes. It's a little bit longer than some of the other weeks, but it was very, very simple. There were no sauces or anything this week. It was just throwing things in the oven and cutting them up essentially. So while it did take 1 hour and 45 minutes, I wasn't actually having to be hands-on and involved in the cooking that whole time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll leave a link for the cookbook. I got it on Amazon. I'm making a video on how I actually cook these into the meals that I showed in the cookbook. So make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss that upcoming video. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.